Hello, ladies. What's up? Welcome to season 2 of Called for Freedom podcast. And I am so excited to just finally start this again. I have been waiting for the Lord for what He wants me to talk about for the episode 1 of season 2. But He hasn't given it to me until last week from the day that I'm filming slash recording this. And to be honest, I thought that we were going to have guests and that's going to be episode 1. But I am wrong and he is always right. And he said to do the first couple of episodes with me first before I get into with my guests. And today it's time to share my testimony. Called for Freedom's vision is to get as many girls to live in the freedom and abundant life promised in Jesus Christ. We are in this serious business to set you girls free from chains of oppression, lies, and strongholds that no longer belong to your new life with Jesus. And through this podcast episodes and teachings and stories told here, you can live in the life of freedom Jesus called you to. So if you're keen for a chat about living a life of freedom in Jesus as a Christian woman in the area of our identity, purpose, lifestyle, business, career, and relationships, I am inviting you to pull up a seat, have a tea or coffee with me, Jenna, your host, and let's chat about today's episode. And I know, right? I'm like, God, what testimony are you talking about? Because what was season 1, if not a lot of testimonies in different areas of my life? But he made it clear to me that the testimony he wants me to share to you today is in the area of finances, the promised land, and the waiting season testimony. So, girl, if you're in the middle of a drought in your finances, if you're in the middle of a massive waiting season and need some serious encouragement and not just any other quote on Instagram or Pinterest that is plastered on your wall, you need more than that because it is hard. And I'm telling you, as someone who's been there, it is hard. And I guarantee that this episode is for you. It's not an accident that you accidentally or intentionally watch this episode because this is for you. So let me just get started with the background story. If you're not familiar, my name is Jenna and I am a prophetic speaker. I'm a kingdom entrepreneur. I'm also a church planter. And I'm here to share with you whatever the Lord will share to me, through me, for you, prophetically, and even I did theology. So in 2011, my dad passed away from lung cancer. And 2 years after that, 2 years in the middle, 2012, 2013. So my mom invested a lot of stuff in wrong investments. And honestly, it's because the Lord was not with us in those investments. And I thank God, in hindsight, that they were not successful. And eventually, some of the parts of the business investments, me and my sister agreed to be a part of it. And so, I can't blame everything to my mom because I did agree to be on some parts of it. A lot of unnecessary spendings and wasted money. And in 2013, my mom got remarried. My sister also married before that. And there's a whole lot of story with that, but we decided to split with our mom. She got 50% and me and my sister got 50%. And, in 2014, I lost my dream as well. I was in the States. I was pursuing nursing. I am into academics and I love achieving stuff. So for me, losing that dream was now my world is really I don't know, shattered everything. I don't know what the future is anymore. Though I know that God was with me, but I just didn't know what the future was anymore and everything stripped off. And then the Lord called me to ministry. At this point, he was like, now it's the time to go to full-time ministry. And so I did. And in 2014 to 2023, I was in Bible college. I was starting a business, and I'll get into some of the details with that. But I want to share with you that it was a time of restoration when it comes to my relationship with my mom. It was years of on and off, ministering to her. And it includes a lot of betrayals. That includes a lot of money, because today that's what I'm sharing with you, right? Money in the area of finances. And even during these years, I remember one year, 2018, God asked me to fast shopping. And at this point, it was a problem for me, but I was not like a crazy, crazy shopper. But in mind, my mindset is like every time I see a makeup, I'm like, I need to have that. I was so addicted to makeup, and I have a bunch of makeup. In my mind, in my heart, it was coveted, like I coveted these things, and that's no good. And God asked me in 2018 to really ban and fast from shopping. And the only time I bought something was for work, because I was a makeup artist as well. So it doesn't matter. It was for my job. But it was over shopping, and the relationship had to end, and there's a lot of things that God stripped me off and really asked me to fast, because he was really teaching me a lot of refining and a lot of cutting off things that don't matter. So where money was involved, like I was not too crazy with, like, overspending. My sister said I was, but to be honest, for me, like, it was not too crazy. But I also had a lot to learn still. 2014 to 2023, those were the years that happened. And I was in Bible college from 2015 until 2019. And so in 2019, like July, I finished Bible college, and I thought I can do full time in my work. But the Lord was like, no, start a business. And I was like, with what money, God, right? But it was 5 months of deep grief and deep sowing. And now, in hindsight, I know it was for the growing of me in the prophetic and kingdom entrepreneurship. But every year then, and even probably right now, but I think now there's just more insight and wisdom and obedience and surrender to the Lord. But now I know that it's a never ending learning of deeper surrender and deeper kingdom entrepreneurship. Because I remember from 2019, I was like, this is only for now. In 2020, I said the same thing. 2021 said the same thing. 2022 said the same thing. Every year, I just like had to convince myself that God really called me here, and he did. But also that this is going to be the last year that I'm going to suffer, that I'm going to experience this. But the thing is, there was no total surrender from my part. And I can admit that. Like, there was just really pride in my heart as well, that God knew that he wanted to really take that off. And going back to my story, December 2019, so July 2019, I finished my degree in theology, right? And then it was like 5 months of like one semester of school that I was like trying to just get this business going. And I had so much fear, so much things that God had to set me free from. And in December 2019, finally, I started freelancing with social media, finally obeyed him in that, because it was a different thing that I was pursuing prior to that, something online as well, but different. And in October 2020, that was the year that I started She Strategy Co. So before that, I was just freelancing. I was doing this and that. Like I had mini courses, and I had clients, and my income was growing. But it was in like 2020 of October that I really started with She Strategy Co. That was like a name that God told me when with starting She Strategy Co. This business. There's a lot of dips, ups and downs, mountain high and valley lows. I've had 10K months and a lot of like months that I earned a lot, but there were also a lot of months that it was just like so quiet, and I was only serving one or two clients, etc. Like, and I to this day, I am still waiting for that deep, deep high increase. But I know I haven't hit quite that momentum yet. Going back to like October 2020, like it was like an increase of income until September 2021. So a year and a half later, God asked me, like, it's time to leave Australia, where I was living at that time, Sydney, Australia, and to go to the US, to go to the people that I was ministering to and I was mentoring. And I just did this ministry thing for 5 months as well. What is up with this 5 months, right? But I did tour the US in the middle of quite the pandemic yet, and traveling and just ministering to people. And God was teaching me a lot of obedience, it was a lot of suffering, to be honest, but also a lot of sweet moments with the Holy Spirit. I have a lot of friends in the US that I reconnected with, and I really believe that God had his way in those months. And yeah, I came back to the Philippines January 2022, And this was when I was like, finally, I can pay off, my credit card things. And because I had money, in investments here, and I withdrew a chunk of it to like pay off all my credit card, all the things that I've spent, and invested to in the last couple of months before that. And I was like, God, like, just give me like a few more months to just restart with the business, because I really believe so much in She Strategico, and just give me, like, to start it again and to just register it and doing all the practical stuff, right? But who knows here that the Lord is not like subscribing to humanity's practicality. It's not like He does not work in the logic of the world. That sometimes, even especially at that time, I still subscribed in. And so He told me, Jenna, what are you doing? I called you back to the Philippines to be part of Manila Connect, this church plant, right? Which I've been a part of since 2020, by the way, but we were all just online. And so I booked a flight, and I really didn't have much money, but I flew to Manila. It still makes me cry to this moment, because this was somehow harder than my move to Australia. Because when I moved to Australia, I had money. Like like, remember the 50-50 thing? My sister and I shared that 50 that of inheritance. So I used that. I used all of that, guys. Like, that's like used up. Like, all the cash is all invested in studying. It's all invested. Like, it's all gone. And I didn't know what money am I going to start. And so I had to borrow a lot of money. I had to use credit card to invest back in my business again, because you need to keep investing in your business. And I'm like, but also, it was not me, it was God really leading me to it. And I'm even like a little bit iffy to share, like, if this is the time to share it. But God was like telling me like earlier, even, that, yeah, this is the time to share it, Jenna. What are you waiting for? Like, the financial breakthrough is already here. This is the time that I am asking you to share it. So anyway, Feb 2022, this broke girl moved to Manila, and he even asked me to, like, as if that was not enough. I'm like looking for a place to live in, this the place that my tita had, and I can only pay, a part of the rent. But it was like an hour away from this place where we're planting the church. And the Lord was like, what are you doing, Jenna? Like, I didn't ask you, I didn't call you to move down there, that city, like, move to where I asked you. And I'm like, God, this place, BGC, is like expensive. And it's like expensive. It's like Sydney level. And I'm like, you're asking me to even live by myself. Like, I used to live like in Sydney. I never lived alone. I've always lived with flatmates. I can live in any place God can send me, right? And even when I was traveling around, like, I lived at people's places and, slept at couches, whatever. Like, God's given me favor, and God's given me like enough as well. Like, I know I can manage. But the Lord was like, nah, for this season, I'm putting you in. I want you to be alone. And so I found this apartment that I'm still living in, but I am moving soon, because I told you the season is over. It's a different season now. So I moved because I'm obedient, and it was a year and a half of like trying to just make ends meet. And I told my sister I'm not going to ask for money anymore, because we have this like real estate business, like apartment renting, right? And I was like, you can just have the money to, pay off some of the debt I also have with my sister. But I had to borrow, like, not even borrow. I was like, can I have some of that? Because like, there are months that I'm like, I don't know how to pay my rent. Like, I do earn money from my business. Like, I had clients that, and I was serving them. I had group programs, and I, like, what I was teaching them was legit, and it was working, and it was good. But it was not enough for what God has called me. He, like, God's standards are so high. And I remember, and I tell people this now, that there were moments that I have to pick between paying my lights, electricity, or should I have this food, for food. And even when I was going to a meeting, right, like, which was like a weekly meeting for like the key support team leaders, like, my transportation was so fixed. And the Lord was like, that's why I asked you to live in this city, so that you don't have to go. And when you go in specific places. So anyway, budget was so tight. And my business was still registered in Australia at that time. So it takes a while for the money to come. And that's why I had to really learn how to be creative and all that stuff. And guys, it was just a year and a half of hardship. And I was like, I don't have to live like this. Like with the money I earn, like from the business that my sister and I share, and with the business that I had, I can like really live a comfortable life in my home city. Plus, I would live in a very, very nice house. I know I've said this in some of my posts and obviously to the people, my community here, but I've never really like gone up to talk about it because people think that, you have it really good because they see you and they see that, you wear cool stuff, you still wear luxury stuff. Look, these are just stuff that I, had for years or were given to me and things like that. But it's not something that I bought. And to be honest, like even some of the things that I had, like I brought them here with me because I've always just waited, like, Lord, at any point, probably need to like sell one of these bags and like any of these watches. But God is so kind and He is such a generous Father that even in my brokest moment, like I persevered not to sell because He didn't tell me to. And that was me fighting against poverty and scarcity mindset. Because it doesn't mean, again, that it's practical. It would have been practical to sell all these things, but God didn't ask me because my heart was like leaning towards I'm doing this on my own. But He always, always came through right at the right moment. And that's why I knew that, Lord, I know that I can just go home and not experience this, but I know that you're doing this for a purpose so that one day I can come and share how good you've been and how, like, even when you asked me to go through this, even if I don't have to go through it, but because I'm obeying you and I'm seeking you first and your kingdom first, and it does not make sense to live a prophetic life in this way, but somehow you show me how to live, and He has showed me how to live an abundant, thriving life, even when my pocket and my finances were not there. But now, because I have sought the Lord, because I have sown the seed that He has given me, because even though I've made mistakes as well and I've had a lot of failures, but He always pulled through because He promised it in His word that those who seek Him shall find Him if we seek Him with all His heart, with all of our hearts. And He said that seek my kingdom first and my righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. And let me tell you, in the last 2 years, since 2023, in January 2023, that was the beginning of more breakthroughs for me, but especially in October 2023, a big financial breakthrough really happened. And ever since then, I didn't have to worry about paying my bills anymore and all these things. And I know that was like a year plus ago. Why am I only showing up now? Because a lot of those things I still had to wait on to be finally here. But now we're finally here. And man, let me tell you how good that feels. Even in October 2023, I already felt how good it felt because God gets the glory. And even now, here in front of the camera, talking to you, girl, I can say like, it feels so good. And not because I worked hard for that. I did work hard, but only with the grace that God has led me. And it's so good to be here telling you that if God did it for me, He will do it for you. And I was once that girl as well, or that person, that child of God on the other side, watching podcast episodes and watching interviews and watching just testimonies in mentorships that I was a part of, in memberships that I was a part of. But one day I'm going to stand and testify. And so here I am. I stand here and testify to you. I'm going to share 5 keys to breaking through financially. Take some notes if you're serious about breaking through, girl, because the finances are not only for you, they are promises for you, but also to the generations and to impact others. See, I am standing here with this testimony because I have shared it to my mates and my friends and my communities, but I am also sharing it right now with you through this podcast and through you. Then you are taking part and you are being encouraged right now in Jesus' name. And so take note. Number 1, fasting and praying. I said seeking God first, right? Matthew 6:33. And that includes seeking His kingdom and righteousness first. In January 2023, I remember I was part of Rig Nation fasting and prayer, like fast forward. That was the first time I joined in. And right after, like during that fast, I received 300K of pesos from this investment that I really didn't even remember. And apparently there was like this anniversary thing. And anyway, I got that, and it was like a fund. I was like, thank you, Jesus, I can breathe a little bit more. And I paid off stuff. I tithed, I gave, and it propelled me into the ministry things that God asked me to do after that. And then January 2024. So at this point, I received that big breakthrough that year, right? October 2023. I was like so in such a better space, but I was still fighting and praying for, the release of the funds, the release of the payments, and all the other things that I was fighting for and praying for and waiting for as well. But I was not at the I'm barely breathing mark. I'm breathing, I'm okay, but I'm just fighting for what God wants, right? And then came January 2025, just last month, did prayer and fasting. It was a lot of fighting for others. And I know there's no template, but maybe it's going to be accelerated as well. But what I'm saying is, what I did was I fasted and I prayed. And I know that it's effective because when we fast, we are giving up things, the indulgences and things that are even needs for us. But water fasting, or like for me, I've only done liquid fast. And it's hard, y'all, but I know God gave me the grace because I couldn't have done it without Him. And doing it with the right motives. And He really does come through. It was not about my sacrifice, but my sacrifice bore fruit into what God wanted. Okay, so second keys to breaking through financially is understanding that His plan includes this side of eternity. So, what do I mean by that? His plan of abundance and thriving, flourishing life, it includes this side of eternity. Because I hated that bound by this wrong teaching and false teaching in the church, right? That we need to be poor, that, blessed are the poor in spirit, like, and then equated that you need to be poor to be a Christian. Like, no, the amount of money we have in our bank accounts is not the only reason. It doesn't equate to us being free in life. You are thriving in other areas of your life. And you can have a bank account or bank accounts with lots of money, but you're so sad and you're so bound by anxiety and fear and all these things. So all of us are going through different things. Okay. So, but His plan includes this side of eternity, but the prosperity, the abundant finances is also for you, this side of eternity. Because why do I know that? He said that He is our provider. He is Jehovah Jireh. He is our healer. He is our protector. He is everything. Jesus is with us. And when Jesus is with us, we will never be in lack. Not just in lack, but I do believe that we were all chosen to be blessed by God, and that includes financially. Okay? Because in Deuteronomy 8:18, he said that He is the one who gave us, God Himself gave us the ability to create wealth. So a lot of blessings promised to you, and we can receive that as well. And number 3 is the breakthrough will come in unexpected ways. So to be honest, I thought that the increase in my finances will come through She Strategy Go, but that was me just pushing my own agenda. The harvest will come in an unexpected way. You sow in one way, and the fruit comes in different ways, and even in ways that you yourself will be shocked, because the Bible talks about we will reap where we have not planted. And there are areas that God has called us to sow, but we are not meant to reap and harvest in that area. It was God scolded me so much because I was expecting to receive a ton of fruit from She Strategy Go, only because I gained so much, like I earned so much in the first year of me being in this business. And my Instagram blew off in 2020 during the pandemic, and I was able to minister to a lot of people. But at the same time, I really earned a lot, like in that next year. So I thought, like, this is gonna be the time. This is gonna be where I'm gonna harvest. And God schooled me so hard, guys, because God didn't want me to rely on my own understanding. And am I grateful? Right now, yes, because I've learned so much. But was it a painful time? It was so much, because remember when I was telling you earlier that every year I just hope that this is the year. But what happened was that the harvest that we received was from an investment of a long time ago. And a part of me is like, God, why? But also, thank you. Thank you so much that all the things that I've invested to learn more about entrepreneurship and kingdom entrepreneurship, it actually paid off. Because without that wisdom and knowledge and all the things that God was sowing into me, I wouldn't be able to sell in this big way when it comes to real estate, because I am not like a real estate agent. I did not study that. And, that's the reason why God used me in that area to really harvest from that, because He wants to confound the wise. If you want to take something from me, it's to surrender. Ask the Lord to help you keep surrendering, and ask the Lord to give you grace to surrender, because you just need your eyes to be open and your ears to be open, and just watch out. Just always be ready to receive how He's going to move, because that's where the surprise is going to happen. So, number 4 keys to breakthrough financially is stop denying what He has given and gifted. I had to learn this. Maybe you don't have to go through this, but I just had to stop myself from not receiving and even enjoying that God is the one who's giving me this and gifting me this. And I was just in a denial time as well, and I had to stop denying what He was giving. I got so busy in the work and doing harvest, right? Like, I really feel guilty. And now there is that factor, and that's the enemy playing at me, right? And God gave me that gift, right, last year. And I went on this vacation to Europe. And even then, I was like so tired. I just came off from Australia from a conference, and I was like, I'm so full spiritually, God, I'm good. And God's like, yeah, but I still want you to go on that vacation because this is my gift to you. And I was denying that. And even moving to this new place, and I need to buy new furnitures, etc. And God's like, yeah, you need to buy, and buy what you want, the thing that is aligned to you. And because I have already aligned you to me, all the things that He has taught me during the waiting season and the preparation season has prepared me for this. And that's why I don't go all out and spend every dime that He has given, because I have learned how to manage and steward the finances, that it is God's and that's not mine. And I am merely stewarding it for Him. And then the 5th one is sow again. The 5th key to breakthrough is to sow again. And I want to read to you this lyric from Brooke Ligertwood's song, Desert Song. It talks about the desert, right? And she just said here, this is my prayer in the desert when all that's within me feels dry. This is my prayer and my hunger and need. My God is the God who provides. And I will sing praise. I will bring praise. No weapon formed against me shall remain, and all that beautiful lyrics in this song. But it basically, she is singing here that in the desert, in the waiting season, in the wilderness season, my God will provide, and I will keep worshiping Him. And I know I said so again. And so this is where at the end, like the last paragraph stanza of her song, it says this is my prayer in the harvest. So now that we are in the harvest season, when favor and providence flow, I know I'm failed to be emptied again. The seed I've received, I will sow. And to be honest, part of me got scared. Like, I don't want to experience that hardship anymore. And I bet you, some of you will be. If you can relate to that, let me know in the comments, or let me know by messaging me. I was like, God, should I be emptied again? But you know what? It's not necessarily that you will be emptied, that you won't have any provision anymore, because now you have the wisdom that when you're sowing, you also have the harvest and food to eat. Like this doesn't mean that you're gonna be empty, like you're not gonna have anything anymore. But this means that now you've learned how to steward being in the desert. Now you know that when I'm giving you seed, you need to sow it. And I want to read to you Leviticus actually. I actually prophesied this over my people, and I prophesied the word yielded for the year in Leviticus 25:18 to 22. And the Lord was telling them that on the seventh year, you need to rest the land. And the people were like arguing, how can we, like, we need to eat, basically, a very logical complaining, right? Or question. But this is how the Lord responded to them. And I'll read to you in the message version. Keep my decrees and observe my laws, and you will live secure in the land. The land will yield its fruit. You will have all you can eat and will live safe and secure. Do I hear you ask, what are we going to eat in the seventh year if we don't plant or harvest? Because again, he was asking them to rest in the seventh year. And he said, I assure you, I will send such a blessing in the sixth year that the land will yield enough for 3 years. So while you plant in the eighth year, you will eat from the old crop and continue until the harvest of the ninth year comes in. So basically, you're not going to be ever, ever in lack. And this just encourages me as well. The land will yield its fruit because he wills it. And you will harvest so much that even as you sow, because you're obeying God to sow and even to rest, you will have the courage to keep going because he promises that your harvest will be enough for you, that there will always be more than enough for you. And even right now, that as I am waiting for a harvest in She Strategy Go, I have provision from this other harvest, right? And I am experiencing that even if I'm waiting, I have so much that I am not literally in want or in need. How beautiful is that? That is the God who we serve. So, ladies, those were the 5 keys to breakthrough that I want to share with you from my own personal breakthrough story in my finances, in the area of my finances. And I hope that you would take this and let it be an encouragement for you. Choose not the path of bitterness, but actually allow the Lord to strengthen you right now. Be strengthened in the Lord, I tell you, and I encourage you. And let's keep believing in Him. So, what I'm saying is, my story can be a source of inspiration for you, that you yourself can be set free from the chains of financial bondage. And you can have breakthrough even whilst you are living paycheck to paycheck, but you can live in breakthrough. You can live in thriving, flourishing life. His plan includes this side of eternity, that I also know that he will give you an abundant, prosperous harvest, and it is coming in Jesus' name. Amen. And so I hope you are blessed and you are strengthened in the waiting. But I love you so much. And thank you for listening or watching. But don't forget to subscribe to our channel or to our Called for Freedom podcast, okay? And take a screenshot, tag us at Called and the number 4 Freedom Podcast on Instagram. And I would love to see all the things that you have reflected on and learned and the things that the Lord has spoken to you. All right, girls, I love you and I'll see you, or you'll hear from me in the next episode. Bye.